Well, it's 8:31. It's Wednesday, December 17th. This is the Chair's Breakfast. We now actually have some amplification in this room too, which is kind of nice. So please do use a microphone if you're going to speak. I understand that Peter Lee has some time constraints. So Peter, why don't you grab a microphone and you can be the first update. I'm just going to quickly mention couple of things for today. We are opening the town warrant on, Carmen will correct me, December 29th. And it'll be open until the 23rd, I believe?
Yes.
Okay, of January. So at this particular meeting, if your committee is working on a warrant for town meeting, it'd be a great idea to mention it. We didn't have our traditional coordination meeting this year, which means that we may or may not have visibility to everything that people are planning to bring to town meeting. So if you do know something, it'd be a great time to mention it. And if you're interested in whatever article someone mentions, please do, schedule time with your committee for discussion. So Peter, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, thanks very much. There are a couple of photos you can see on the screen, and perhaps the Zoom people can see it too. Peter Lee, Haywood Meadows Stewardship Committee. I have just a couple of updates. I don't often come to this meeting, but we do have a couple new things. One is that two of our founders of our committee from 25 years ago, Joanne Gibson and Mary Clark, are retiring as of this month, December. They and their cohort 25 years ago created a citizens committee to oppose construction on Haywood Meadow. There have been prior proposals to build a courthouse there, commercial parking lot, then later the town tourist office with bathrooms and possibly parking. Citizens got up and started opposing it, and they ended up declaring the whole lot of Haywood Meadow, West Meadow, and East Meadow to be a conservation area. In addition, the town declared that it will be a historic landscape preservation area as well. Because of that, we have Haywood Meadow from 300 years ago, 200 years ago, 100 years ago preserved. Otherwise, this would have been parking, maybe a car mechanic, certainly a tourist office. So I think this event of them retiring, we are going to put out a public engagement program probably in February. That's my announcement. I invite all of you to attend. We are thinking of either doing it during our regular Thursday morning meeting, which is 9 a.m., not the best time for a lot of people, or we might do it like this at 8:30 or in the evening. Be a 45-minute program to talk about how this meadow was created, how it was preserved for the historic perspective of Concord. And we on our committee believe that this is such an important thing because this meadow connects the center of historic Concord, Monument Square, Walden Street, to the Lexington Battle Road, the Concord Museum, the Alcott House, etc. And that integrated whole, I think, creates the aura of Concord as a historic town that is so beautiful and well preserved. Within the committee, we have some conflicts, as we all do in town. We have the conservation faction. We have 10 years ago shifted the meadow into a conservation pollinator area to encourage wild grass and native grass. It has resulted in the meadow sometimes in certain seasons looking a little messy. So there's another faction on our committee representing town interest about historic preservation, the look and feel of the meadow, not helping the insects, but helping the citizens and visitors. And there's a third faction, which is to make this quite attractive. All three work together, I think, quite well, and we have a new cohort of members. So I want to ask a question of you all. Such a program, I think, would be very positive for the town, for our committee to engage. And we have a new landscape preservation plan, finished 2 years ago, published last year. We will present as well as asking Joanne and others of how they did this. How did they succeed in preserving this meadow as it is now? Do you think a 9 a.m. program is adequate, or should we go for more engagement and shift it to an evening program? Quick question. And while you're thinking of that, I just mentioned that in the picture, the second picture, if you don't mind, shows a patch of yellow grass, tall grass, which are bluebells, which historically have been scattered and not that healthy. So we have started a volunteer group. We are actually pulling out roots of young oak trees are trying to sprout. There are 1,000 of them. So we have started. In one session, one afternoon, we pulled out 58. It's only maybe a couple hundred that need to be removed. So we're doing that. We're going to try to engage with schools and convert it into an educational program as well. I think it's very important that the public knows what we're doing, why we're doing it, and why this looks a little shaggy sometimes. But the past month, you see that little patch of yellow grass. Those are native bluebells, and if we didn't pull out root systems, those do not thrive. So this year, for the first time, we're letting it stay up through the winter season and see if it will become healthier next year. So anyway, that's my update. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Peter. That's a great way to start off this morning. I remember walking across that field on Patriots Day this year and thinking, what a, beautiful and subtle part of the history that is. So appreciate it. So feel free to give Peter feedback as we go around. I think that like a lot of outreach efforts in Concord, it's often useful to try for multiple ways of engagement, something online, something during the day, something during the evening. We have a lot of constituents to engage with. So thank you. I'm going to turn to Carmen for an update first, and if there's anybody else that particularly has a time constraint, just be sure to raise your hand at some point and let me know, and we'll take you out of order. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of go around the room and then online. Thanks, Carmen.
Good morning, everybody. Carmen Reese, Town Moderator. So it's that time of year. We're about to embark on our town meeting, annual town meeting cycle. As Mark mentioned, the warrant opens on the 29th of this month, and it will be open for just a few weeks, and it will close on Friday, the 23rd. And note that it's closing at noon this year. A lot of times it closes at the close of business. It's noon this year, and the town clerk takes the deadline very seriously. Currently, I'm not aware of any citizen petitions, but we could have some. We usually do. And we're asking the schools and the town to have their draft warrant articles to us early before the close of the warrant by Friday, January 9th. That would be extremely helpful to us in getting things organized. We're going to do the same thing this year that we did last year with respect to publication of the warrant. In the first instance, as soon as it's ready, having been reviewed by town council and boards and committees in the town and the schools, having done whatever edits they need to do to their warrant articles, we will publish that warrant online, and then it will go out to every household as an insert in the Concord Bridge. We're going to try and format it a little differently this year so that it comes out as a booklet instead of just the center pages, so that it'll be easier to carry around. Then later on, after the 5 hearings, all of which will happen in March this year, we're going to have a very busy March, we will once again have a town meeting briefing book, which will include the Finance Committee's report, all of the warrant articles, all of the motions under the warrant articles, and all of the board and committee recommendations. And if there's something that as an article sponsor you would have liked to put on a handout, to put as a separate piece of paper flapping around at town meeting, you should have that submitted to go in the briefing book. And we're trying as hard as we can to get everything in the briefing book so that voters have a single document to carry around. And that will be mailed to every household. And one of the things that makes us able to do that is saving the money on sending the warrant out separately as a mailing, instead publishing it in the Bridge and putting it online. We are asking people to please, for their presentations at the hearings on articles, if you're an article sponsor, please have your draft motion as your first and last slide to that presentation, so that people understand, if you have 4 different funding choices in your article or any other sum in there qualifying your number, it's really helpful to people to know exactly what your plan is. Do you plan to take this all out of free cash, or do you plan on a 10% increase? So really good to know those things at the hearings. But then the final motions, the deadline for those is going to be in March, and we will then review all the motions with town council, unless you're a citizen petitioner. Actually, even if you are a citizen petitioner, if town council has any recommendations for you with respect to your motion, or if we see any errors, we'll be in touch with you to edit them before they go in the final briefing book. That's a little bit of a change from the schedule last year, because we pushed the warrant review, the motions review really early in the schedule last year, and we had so many changes following the hearings that we ended up with a bunch of confusion at town meeting with version control. So we're asking for draft motions to be at the hearings, and then the finals will come later. The finals will go in the briefing book, and hopefully we won't have version control chaos at town meeting. And I am, of course, available before town meeting to discuss your warrant article, your motion, or anything else about town meeting, and you can find me at concordma.gov. Last Saturday, we did have a board and committee effective governance training that was about preparing for town meeting, and you can find that on the Minuteman Media's YouTube channel. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. I see Holly has raised her hand for the Public Celebrations and Ceremonies Committee. So Holly, you'll go, and then I'm going to call on Lois Wassoff for the Finance Committee, also in our town meeting prep.
Great, thank you, Mark. Sorry, I have a conflict at 9. So for the Holly Legault from the Concord Public Ceremonies and Celebrations Committee, and today I just want to announce that we have opened the nominations for Concord's 2026 Honored Citizen. So nominations can be found either on the town website or at Town Hall. And then our next meeting will be January 7th at 6 p.m. and a Zoom invite will be included in our agenda. We'll be starting our Patriot Day preparations. So we welcome any new and interested members to join the committee. And that's it for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Holly. Lois, are you set to go?
Hi, Mark. Hi, everybody. I will be brief. The Finance Committee met on December 11th and completed its last major task before we move into town meeting preparation, which was to approve the guidelines, the operating budget guidelines for fiscal year 27. There'll be a letter in the Bridge laying that out in more detail, and the official notification has gone to the budgeting units. But basically, we came in underneath the asks of both the schools and the town. The overall increase is 1.9%, but that, you have to keep in mind, was shifted to the low end because there was a big enrollment shift at Concord Carlisle High School, and as a result, the budget increase number for the region is actually a negative number. So that affected the calculations. But anyway, all that information will be available to everyone in this room very shortly, and you can see the details of how we got there. And the last thing I'll jump in and do on behalf of the lesson that we did as a committee, and that involves the financial policy work group, is the Finance Committee looked at the draft reserves policy that the Financial Policy Work Group has been developing and gave some more input on that. And Mark, I think that's going to be on the Select Board agenda coming up this month, because we're hopeful to have that in a position where it can be approved by the Select Board and can inform some potential warrant articles before the warrant closes. And I think that's all I have.
Thanks, Lois. Some of you will remember there was a discussion about reserves at last year's town meeting, and we've worked hard to reach some consensus on that. So, okay, coming back into the room, Sven?
Yes, Sven Weber for the Land Use Working Group. So we are getting close to the halftime of the one-year charter we have on the working group, and you might remember we have a big puzzle in front of us. We are expecting by somewhere the end of January to have the options narrowed down to a few options per working stream, and the working streams are: one is municipal consolidation. The town right now has 130 plus employees across 18 different buildings. So there's an idea to consolidate that and harvest some efficiencies there. Second working stream is fire and police, what needs to be done, West Concord Fire Station, fire and police station here. And the third one is where to put Public Works Campus. After we narrowing this down, there will be a second phase where the working group will look at what to do with the not used land or the surplus properties that would be a result out of these options. All of that is not, these are recommendations on a very high level. There will be still questions to be answered when you start executing or looking deeper into these things. This is a first kind of game where you put your blocks on the map and say this is where it makes sense in the long term to move. The devil will be in the detail, and of course there will be more work even after we've done with our one-year charter when you go into working streams to execute on some of these options. That's all I have.
Thanks, Sven. Vince?
Vince Carlson, PEG Access Advisory Committee. We had a big year this year. We signed a new 10-year contract with Comcast, and Minuteman Media Network certainly has had a big year, you know, with the 250th anniversary. What's coming up after the contract signing is that the committee has traditionally gone into hibernation for 10 years until the next contract. But there are certain responsibilities that the contract has, such as holding at least an annual meeting to see if there's any complaints or maybe praise for Comcast in terms of the service. And one thing we recommend to anybody, every citizen of Concord who has Comcast, is to really speak up if they have any issues which Comcast does not solve satisfactorily. The other thing in terms of the kind of the meeting schedule of the committee is that since there's a less month-to-month responsibility, is that we plan at this point, and we're meeting later today actually, to meet only several times a year. And that has to do, one, with the responsibilities that we have with Comcast, as I just mentioned, and the other one is, to attend to the budget of Minuteman Media Network. So the meetings that the committee has this coming year will be to, convene when the Minuteman Media Network plans up their budget for this year. And in the case of Comcast, as I mentioned, just to see that the responsibilities are fulfilled, both ways. So that basically is the major business.
Thanks, Vince. Keith?
Keith Bergman, Chair of the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. The quarterly Concord Housing Roundtable was held on Monday night, very well attended. There are 7 boards, including the Select Board, the Trust, the Housing Groups, Planning Board, Community Preservation Committee, to make sure we're all on the same page. There was a discussion about 91B Main Street, which is surplus state property that has been made available to the town, where the trust will be discussing in early January the specifics of that proposal and hopefully bringing it forward to the Select Board for their approval under our town bylaw for the trust to acquire the property and subsidize its development. We are, from a funding standpoint, the trust is grateful for the favorable recommendation from the Community Preservation Committee for our request of $785,500 for fiscal 2027. When we look at some of the things that we have a balance of $2.4 million right now. When we look at maybe $2 million that we need to devote to 91B Main Street, we're not going to have much left over. When that commitment is made, so we're grateful to have additional funds that might bring us up to a balance of about $1 million after town meeting. We're also pursuing state legislation to fund the trust. The real estate transfer fee is still alive on Beacon Hill. A proposed a building permit surcharge for Concord has been referred to study, which is legislative speak for that bill's been killed, death by study. The real estate transfer fee is still alive. A statewide local option transfer fee has been favorably reported out by committee and continues. We were pleased to see among the otherwise well, I'll say the Massachusetts Municipal Association released a report of recommendations to address what they're calling the fiscal perfect storm facing local communities, including some to ask the state for a guarantee of funds going forward, or some flexibility in other local revenues. And we're pleased to see that report, which has a very short list of things, includes a proposal for real estate transfer fee for affordable housing trusts. So we're glad to get the visibility on that, and we'll need to stay tuned for the future. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Doug Ellis, Chair of the Historical Commission. A couple things. First, we are wrapping up. Matter of fact, at 9:30, we have a scheduled meeting to put the final blessings on the preservation plan that's going to be submitted to Mass Historical. Our deadline is the end of the month, but seeing as we kind of want Ann Clifford to have some time off this year, we want to make sure that that's done, so that's not hanging over anyone's head beyond today. So really excited about that. It's a great product, and our next steps will be packaging that up and planning on the rollout to the town, how we want to get the word out, how we want to roll it out. Also very happy that we've got 5 new regular and associate members. Fantastic people, every one of them, from a 24-year-old to just people with all kinds of different diverse experience that really will, I think that's the real strength of the Historical Commission. We've got a lot of different people with different skills. Some historical, some just, enthusiastic, but everything from architecture, landscape architecture, to, to history and education. So very happy for that.
Thank you. It's a good reminder that it's also, as we prepare for town meeting, a good time to start thinking about members and membership on your different committees. Pat?
Pat Nelson, Concord Middle School Building Committee, and no, we will not be submitting anything to the warrant this year.
Thank you.
The committee's still looking at certain things, and things are happening still at the middle school in the building process. Tweaks like moving crosswalk to a better place and the kinds of things things that you do when a building project is over. There are 20 items on the punch list, which is a really good number for this time in the project. And the other thing that we're going to be looking at tomorrow when we meet is a proposal to have the Minuteman Media Network infrastructure in the library at the middle school. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow. Yeah.
If I might add just one more thing. Speaking of committee appointments, I will have 2 seats to fill on the Finance Committee, and I believe I have a candidate for one of them, but if you know someone who's interested in the other one, please let me know. The other thing is, you may have seen in the Concord Bridge the article about consideration of the middle school as a location for town meeting. We did have a big group of people, from IT people to police and fire and town staff and school personnel, and the superintendent came along with us, and we toured the middle school and thought about it as a location for town meeting. And in a word, it's just perfect. The only problem is parking. And so we are awaiting a response from the police department, who was going away to study the question to see whether it was doable in terms of the parking situation. There's a lot less parking there than there is at the high school. On the other hand, the auditorium is beautiful, perfectly sloped, doesn't present any of the challenges that we have in the high school auditorium. The cafeteria is such that we could close it off as a voting area, so we could restore that area of people sitting at tables and eating their pizza and doing the crossword puzzle during articles that they don't care about, and kids coming along to do their homework with their parents. We could restore that. And then we have 600 seats in the bleachers in the gymnasium if we needed those. And to top it all off, all those spaces have a drop-down screen, a projector on the ceiling, and they're already wired for Minuteman Media Network. So we would maybe not have to rent anything, I'm not sure. But we have a really big rental budget right now at the high school. Parking remains our central obstacle, and it may or may not be soluble, so stay tuned.
I'll just say, as someone who's worked on this building for, I think, 7 years, maybe, be delighted to have the town in.
Yeah.
I hope that the parking can get resolved.
Well, and I would also say, I think we have a lot of people in town who are paying for the middle school and will be paying for the middle school for the next 20 years, and they haven't seen it. Yeah. And I think it would be magnificent to have voters there to see what they bought.
Yeah. Which is another plug for Civics Day, but from the 8th grade. I know it already happened this year, but it's a great event, and it's a good way to get into the middle school, and you can find out what our young people are really thinking and caring about at the moment. That just happened in the last month. Bill.
Bill Maracek, Chair of the Personnel Board. We're still looking for 2 more members. We only have 3, we need 5. So we're still urging individuals who have an interest to do the green card. The other item is that we're still waiting for the town to give us the next version of the employee handbook that has been prepared, and it is in review it's already gone to the legal counsel. It is in the process by the town to review, and hopefully we'll have that, I was told, in the month of January. That's it. Thanks, Mark.
And we can expect the regular classification article. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Andrea.
Andrea Solomon, I'm on the Public Works Commission. At our past meeting, we approved the sewer connection for the amenities building. And I just want to say how helpful it was to have our staff there to answer questions about the very detailed history of policy in Concord, as well as rules, regulations, bylaws that govern sewer hookups and all the all the documents that we use to look at whether or not that's a good answer for the town or not. So not having to guess or make up our own narratives was very helpful. We had people there to answer actual facts and histories of those policies. We're also looking at the credit and appeals process for the stormwater utility, which should be going into effect in the next month or two. Stay tuned on that. So that's all.
Thank you, Andrea. Let's send one of the microphones back, maybe over by Wendy, and please do hold it nice and close.
Mira Tilly, Chair of the Board of Assessors. We're still in our sleepy season right now, but we just approved property values, certified them for the upcoming fiscal year. Abatement season starts in February, and so that's when things will get quite busy for us, and I'll have more to report.
Okay. Let's try the microphone that Doug was using. Just maybe pull that off the stand and hand it back there. Thank you, Mary.
Sue LaChance, West Concord Cultural District. Happy to report a holiday stroll was a success this past Saturday despite the freezing cold temperatures. One of the things that we added as a complimentary activity was doing donations to Open Table, and we collected $1,200 in cash and lots of food. So we're going to be delivering that to Open Table today. And less happy news and common theme about funding. The cultural districts, both Concord and West Concord, are funded by the Mass Cultural Council, and they have left us in limbo this year in terms of how we'll be funded. So we're kind of waiting to see what we'll be able to do in 2026, 27. So.
Thank you, Sue.
Brad Dye with the Climate Action Committee. I'll happily walk to town meeting if it's at the middle school. You can have one fewer parking space than you think you need. I met 2 weeks ago with a member of the West Concord Advisory Committee. I thought that the process that they're undergoing to review their mission is very thoughtful and timely. If you're not aware of what they're up to, I think it's worth taking a peek at it and thinking about their process in terms of your committee as a way of reviewing your mission, what you do, and whether you're fulfilling the needs in the community. It's been 15 years since that committee was formed, and they asked very probing questions of me to get at what Climate Action Committee does that overlaps with them, the things in planning that we're interested in, and how we approach those things and connect with our community. It was a really fine thing that they have decided to undertake this, and I think more committees could do it. Our committee in the past month launched a new website. The Cooler Concord website has been revamped, so if you haven't been there in a while, go and check it out. We're on a new platform. If you have it bookmarked on your computer now, you don't have to change your bookmark. You'll automatically redirect to it. If you don't have it bookmarked, hey, bookmark the Cooler Concord website. It's great. It's been mostly a sleepy month for our committee. We're mostly looking forward to next year. We're looking at great concern with a filing at the DPU on the so-called GSEP program. Our local methane purveyor is looking to dig up all of Elsinore Street and put in new conduit underneath it. If you think that the construction on Main Street this year has been disruptive, imagine digging up a whole neighborhood. So we may intercede and ask some timely questions of DPU about that. We view it as an opportunity to think very carefully about piloting network geothermal systems. That's a whole neighborhood with a lot of gas and oil customers. It would be great to give them clean energy instead of 50 more years. The other thing that we're looking forward to next year is hopefully a rollout of our Climate Action and Resilience Plan review, public-facing rollout probably next month. So again, if your committee is a stakeholder in our climate plan and we haven't already connected, we really should. It's time. We'd love to work with you and your committee.
Thanks, Brad. Stefan?
Thank you. Stefan Bader, Chair of the Concord Housing Authority. Keith mentioned some of the highlights from the Concord Housing Roundtable, which was on Monday night. At that meeting, the Housing Authority's biggest contribution or biggest news was to say that the application for the fire sprinkler retrofit at Everett Gardens and Everett Gardens expansion was submitted to the state's highly leveraged asset protection grant program. We anticipate that the state will act favorably on that application, which would help greatly to magnify the impact of the $300,000 that was approved by the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust for a project that's likely to cost well over $1 million, and that is also likely to save lives and protect the property. This is property that was built in the 1960s when sprinklers were not required in residential. After fires in Maynard and most notoriously Fall River recently, this has become a priority. It will take several years to get done, but we're moving forward. Thank you.
Great. Ann? Great. All right.
Hi, Tracy Morano. I have both schools to talk about today. Andrew Herchek sent me his update for Concord Public. So tonight we're going to begin our discussions on the FY27 budget. Our hearing will be January 7th, as Carmen mentioned. FinCom set their guideline at 2.75%. We actually are at a 2.94% increase, so we have some work to do. We're offering early retirement incentive at both CPS in the region, and teachers have until January 15th to let us know if they'll take part in that. So they'll be getting about $30,000, but we'll have like a $40,000 to $60,000 savings per teacher should teachers choose to require, so more to come on that. And we are beginning negotiations with the Concord Teachers Association support staff. They are becoming unionized, so we're going to enter into negotiations with them. And just for the public to know, we have 8 labor unions that we negotiate with, so this would be a 9th. Then at the region, again, our FY27 budget is well underway. Our hearing will be on January 7th. At the region, we are below the we're actually at the guideline, but we have a negative 0.79% increase. And it's an overall increase of 1.63% to the region, but Carlisle, due to the enrollment of Carlisle, the assessment is 9.37%. So Carlisle has a huge bump this year, which they have prepared for and they're aware of. We had our first meeting on the Coalition on Anti-Semitism, and we had Rabbi Tomashow. Rabbi Darby couldn't make it. We had 3 principals there, our DEIB director, superintendent, assistant superintendents, 2 school committee members, 2 members of the Jewish Student Union, and 2 faculty advisors. So it was a great meeting. We have 2 more meetings scheduled this year, a lot of really rich discussion. We are going to have continued professional development through Facing History at all of our schools. The high school should be next, but we've started that at the middle school. And then the amenities building, a huge thank you to the CPC and to the Public Works Commission for really working with us to collaborate on how we can make this project happen. The CPC is fully funding the Concord share of that, so the amenities building will be of 0 tax impact to the taxpayer. So thank you to the CPC for really looking at that project. And the Public Works Commission, it was really a great process of just continued talks and collaboration between the chairs and really understanding what the sewer issue was. I think that a lot of people thought they knew what the sewer issue was, but they actually didn't know. And this was just part of a regular process that has to happen. I learned a lot about sewer connections. So I think, if you want to watch that meeting, it's actually pretty interesting if you like that type of thing. And then we will be applying for CPC funds in Carlisle to fully fund the Carlisle share. So that's coming up. Their deadline is different than the Concord deadline. So many of you heard about this last year. This is year 3 I've talked about the amenities building. So I'll be happy to stop talking about it. And we are going to pursue municipal ADA grants in both towns to potentially really improve the accessibility to that field. We don't have the money to do it ourselves. It is accessible. It's not terrific if you haven't been down there. We have a lot of multi-generational families that enjoy the space, community members that enjoy the space, and we understand that, we do have the proper grading, but it's a really long trip to get from the top of the high school down to the field. So if we can make that easier for, parents, grandparents, students, that would be great. Then just in district news, every week the superintendent puts out district news, and we're now publishing Concord Currents in there, so we have a link to that in her bulletin. And then in Concord Currents, there's a link to the district news. So if you want to read anything about what's happening in both districts, please go on our website. We have a new page for that, so you can get news, you can get the superintendent's updates, and we're really trying to work in close partnership with the town to kind of get their things out, they can get our things out, and hopefully people will read everything. Thanks.
Thanks, Tracy. Okay.
Hi, Mark Hansen, the Pollinator Health Advisory Committee. Coming up in January, we're going to have a winter sow at Barrel Farm on Sunday, January 11th, and you're all welcome to come. It's no experience required, no equipment required, just a willingness to plant or find homes for the plants that you start. Winter sows are very common in Massachusetts now. They weren't 5 years ago. And what it is it's an opportunity to put in we take native plant seed from perennials. What's an example? I can't think of one off the top of my head, I'm sorry. Anyway, swamp milkweed, that's one. We stratify these seeds, which means that in order to sprout, they have to freeze. Because they're smart. Seeds say, okay, it hasn't gotten cold enough yet for me to start growing because, I'm impressed. I only say that seeds are smart because I've discovered that animals like bees are smart. There was a study done in Europe where bees were exposed to two sources of food, forage, pollen and nectar. And so a bee knows about both of these and leaves the hive and goes out a mile and east, say, and discovers that the source is not there, and the other source it knows about is a mile north of the nest. So what do you suppose it does when it's a mile east of the nest and it knows that there's another source a mile north of the nest, but it's no longer at the nest? What does it do? Just quick, anybody want to volunteer? Do you suppose if you were in that situation, how would you get directly to the next nest?
Northwest.
Northwest. And how did you do that? You did a little trigonometry, right?
Yeah.
Well, so inside that little bee's nest, or little bee's brain, I guess, right? That's the state of my brain today. It makes that calculation. And it makes it so accurately that it flies directly to the new location. Now, mind you, that the bee knows which direction it's flying because it has ultraviolet vision and it can always see the sun. But notice that the sun is moving 15 degrees per hour. And if we're talking a mile and you're off a few degrees, you're going to miss it because you don't have other sensory sources. So the pollinators that we're trying to save with or trying to improve the diversity of with the Pollinator Committee is exactly that skill, diversified over several different species. And with climate change coming along, diversification is the key to survival. So this winter sow is coming up, and we hope you can make it. Thanks.
Thanks. We'll go over to Tui.
Yeah, bees are really amazing, I would say. Tui Rogers, Chair of the Concord Cultural Council and the Concord Cultural District. And you've already heard from Sue about our situation with the Cultural District. We are similar districts in Concord. Concord has two. So I'll talk about the Cultural Council. We've just completed our 30 grants for about $12,000, and we give to people like the Concord Community Conservatory of Music, Concord Art, Noor Kasamali, who started reading poetry to her family and then wanted to open up to the public and now reads Hafez and Emerson poetry, comparing the two. Something worth going to. Open Door Theater, Worlds of Stage Players, who are always presenting Shakespeare in front of the library. But why do we do what we do? Is I love listening to all of the work that you all do, how to make this town run, how you're really working hard to do it. We do this because the arts remind us of our humanity. And they're not the answer, but they're part of the solution. So I'm going to ask you to lean a little bit towards the left side, the right side of your brain, and maybe close your eyes or go wherever you need to contemplate for a minute as I read Hildy Olesen, an octogenarian poet who unfortunately is now dead, Dark December Days. This allows us to step back a little bit from all that we do. On dark December days, the old year seems to want to linger. It moves slowly, hesitantly, as though loath to go. The year that held us in its grip still wants to own us, even as we beg for new beginnings. A brightening sky soon clouds with fears, gray overtakes the blue, but yet the silvery wind rides in on ocean currents, pushing the darkness to one side. Old times are frail, youth hesitant to intrude. The new year still untried, unknown, but slowly, reluctantly the days pass by, until the calendar pages drop, and there we stand upon the edge of promise. What lies ahead, we do not know, but as the morning always ends the night, as spring each year drives winter away, so the heart believes that love will triumph over fear. A new year foretells assurance that life does more than exist. It portends a future full of surprises, miracles. It tells us we have strength. We will proceed into the wonders of an unknown life, that it is to each of us our private secret. Thank you.
Thank you. That's what I call raising the bar on the chair's breakfast.
You know, I have to follow that. That was beautiful with the Board of Health vaccination stuff, right? Now back to vaccinations. Yeah. Don't expect anything like that from the Board of Health, that's for sure. So I'm Jim Whalen, I'm the chair of the Board of Health. The Board of Health noted a particularly busy fall this year. We did hire the public health for the public health nurse position. That position is actually going to be shared with Maynard. But that position, after some excellent candidates came up, was finally filled. So. We also had several flu and COVID-19 vaccination clinics, which were conducted for Concord residents and staff members. These included the Council on Aging Clinic, where 112 flu and 90 COVID vaccinations were administered. Town Employee Clinic, where 39 flu and 28 COVID vaccinations were administered. And middle school staff clinic, where 27 flu and 17 COVID vaccinations were given. These clinics were coordinated with the Acton West Concord Pharmacy, and staff expressed appreciation for the convenient on-site access for those vaccinations. In addition, the department participated in the Yellow Tulip project, which was a mental health awareness initiative in collaboration with Emerson Hospital. What we did there was planting approximately 100 yellow tulip bulbs at the Beatty Center and coordinating additional plantings with the First Parish Church and West Concord Green Thumbs for sites near the West Concord Library and train stations. So if you do see in the spring, speaking of springtime, you know, you hopefully we'll be thinking about the Yellow Tulip Project and mental health awareness. The Board of Health would also like to update everybody on the opioid settlement fund. Approximately $12,000 has been used to support the substance use prevention coordinator. In this case, it's Olivia DeFore, and an ongoing opiate community survey, which will help identify local priorities for prevention, recovery, and education efforts. Outreach notices were included in the Concord Bridge, school newsletters, and library postings, as well as community groups. We had 300 participants with that, so it was a pretty good success, I would say. But that's it. That's all we have to update for
Thank
the
you,
Board of
Jim.
Health.
All right, I'm going to go online. Jean Goldsberry. Oh, I'm sorry, Eve, you moved on me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sneaking around the room so I can see people's faces because I want to be able to relate faces and names a little bit better. My name is Eve Eisenberg. I'm the chair of the CPC. We had a very busy December 2nd meeting. You've heard about our two largest applications that we are going to recommend that the town supports. We will be bringing at least one warrant article to town meeting. We have one application which is a little stuck, and so it's stuck between the Natural Resources Commission and the Select Board and the Town Council, and that is an application for a conservation fund. But once that gets sorted, we'll figure out more about our warrant article, and I'm going to do all that training you just mentioned because I don't know what I'm doing for that. We had so many amazing applications. 17 applications came in this year, and we were lucky enough to have a lot of funding to give to those, to recommend those projects to town meeting. They vary from town archives, restoring maps that Henry David Thoreau drew originally, to the first 5 books of Concord record from the 1600s being restored, windows for the library, storm windows that is. We've got the Aspet River Bridge going through its final phases. What a huge, incredible asset for the town. We're super excited to be part of that. Thoreau, trails through Thoreau Farm, connecting other trails. Let's see, what else have we got? We've got, of course, the amenities building and the housing trust and the RSO and our staffing. Big shout out to Ann, who I failed to mention at our last meeting. Ann Clifford has been the most amazing staff person to work with. And we're wrapping it up. I'm sure I've forgotten several others that we are funding, but you'll see more about that at town meeting, so hold on to your pants because here we come. That's it for me.
Great. Thanks, Eve. Okay, now we're ready for you, Jean.
Thank you. Jean Goldsberry, Commission on Disabilities. We have a full host of members now, which we haven't had for several months. So we're really happy to have a full membership. And the biggest news for us is that we just received notice that we will be getting a $125,000 grant, municipal ADA improvement grant, to help us do an assessment of accessibility within Concord. And we have an RFP out for that to several organizations that do that kind of work. And it's a very short timeline because the RFP had to go out, has to come back, we have to select somebody, and they have to do all the work by June 30th. So it's going to be a very busy spring. Couple of other things, we just helped our neighbors in Carlisle because they do not have a Commission on Disabilities, and they needed some support around some modifications that they're making to the Gleason Library. So we were able to meet with them and their architect and hear about the modifications that they were expecting to make, and we were able to support a request for variance from the Architectural Access Board. And finally, we are working on putting together a resource bank that will be connected with our spot on the town's website, and it will provide a number of resources for people with disabilities in terms of businesses that are easily accessible, places to go, things to do, and all of that. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jean. Dan?
Hi, Dan Gainsborough, co-chair of the MCI Concord Advisory Board. I am happy to be able to report that we accomplished what we set out to do and completed the tasks in our charge. The next step from this moment is to undertake a master planning process for the entire site, which will include several things, and none the least of which is the new consideration of the possibility of relocating the DPW function over onto the site, as well as we'll be looking at timelines, implementation timelines, as well as financial and fiscal impacts of any of the development programs that emerge.
Thanks, Dan. Paul?
Hi, everyone. Reporting on the Bias Incident Reporting Group and their work. We're in the middle of our research, and that being casting a wide net for all systems that are out there, towns, governments, universities, et cetera. And when I talk about a system, it's everything from the front end of how people report to the back end, how the data are used, and everything in between. As part of this research, we're conducting a series of, we actually invited folks in to brief us. Our last meeting, we were briefed by town council, Nina Markarius, on the legal issues with the system, and by Lieutenant Tim Landers of the Concord Police on the police system. It's a very interesting recording if you want to listen to those issues, and especially what the police is doing on the bias reporting and incident end of things. We have other briefings scheduled for January, including the Antonia Thompson from the DA Ryan's office will come in and talk about their system. So after that, in February, we'll starting to put together the quote-unquote system. Hopefully by the end of the first quarter, we'll be able to report back to the select board on the system. I want to mention one other thing. We are going to be conducting at least one, if not two, focus groups. Deb Dorfman, a member of our committee, is going to lead a focus group. First one's going to be in January 13th. She'll be putting out notice and asking for people to participate and sign up for those focus groups. I think that'll be a really important focused public input piece of our puzzle. So be alert for that information. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. Jill?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Jill Block from the UCargill Trust. As always, we have continued to support about 8 to 10 of your neighbors, residents of Concord, with emergency financial needs. This past month, we sent out our annual appeal, and I would just encourage you all to support it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Jill. It's important work. Joe?
Hi, I'm here for the DEI Commission for my chairs today. Just as a reminder, the DEI Commission, we exist to our many goals, but specifically to find ways to make Concord more welcoming and inclusive, and specifically work against issues of systemic bias and anything to make Concord a more just place. So I want to talk just quickly about some things we're doing in terms of policy and some things we're doing in terms of community support. In terms of policy, over the summer, we worked on revising the committee charge. The charge of the commission's work hasn't been updated since 2021. Based on the work and the incidents that have been going on in Concord this year, the revised charge was sent to the select board at our last meeting, and now it's in the select board's hands to modify that and make it as strong as possible. So if you're interested in the DEI Commission charge work, definitely follow that. I believe, Mark, you're talking about at the next select board meeting.
That's
is that right? Is it next one? Yeah. Paul already mentioned the bias and hate work group. We appreciate all the leadership that the select board, Paul and the select board's been showing and carrying this issue through. Several years ago, the DEI Commission sort of surfaced after the townwide survey that showed 67% of the people in the survey, of about 600 people, had witnessed one or more bias or hate incident of the town. And of those 67%, 71 had seen more than one. We were expressing the need for this incident reporting system. And thanks, unfortunately, to the incidents this year, but that has triggered the select board to do continued work on this, and we appreciate all the effort that's going into that. We have a member of the DEI Commission on Paul's work group, and then several of us always attend because there's a real hope. We want this to go really well because it's our opportunity as a community to join some of the other communities and messages in doing that. So that's some of the policy things we're working on. In terms of community activity, there was a coffee in December. About every quarter, we have just an open house welcoming coffee sponsored by the Concord Police Department. And it's just an opportunity for people in the town to talk about ways they think the town experiences they're having Because a lot of what comes to DI Commission is people's experiences that they don't feel comfortable sharing, maybe in a more formal setting, just telling us about what it's like to try to make and live in the town to be more welcoming and inclusive. So those are super important. I don't think we have the spring one scheduled, but my guess is there'll probably be something in February or March. In terms of we're getting ready for all the cultural activities support every year. We're spreading the Lunar New Year. That will be happening in collaboration with members of that community in February. Pride's coming up, Juneteenth, all these others. And I just think it's a good reminder that although these various community activities are designed to make Concord feel more welcoming and inclusive, they're open to everyone. So they're open to, you don't have to be a member of that community to feel like that's something you should be involved in. And that really fits tonight. If you don't know, I don't remember, Beth Williams started in the Visitor Center holding a Hanukkah celebration about 3 years ago. And it used to be very small and right outfield in the cold. And then with the collaboration that she's done with businesses, and then the DI Commission funded a menorah last year. They moved it inside in Harvey Wheeler, and it's much nicer. It's warmer. You don't have to worry about the cold, and it starts at 5 o'clock today. And that's a great example, especially this year in Concord. You don't have to be a member of that community to enjoy that event. Please come by tonight at 5 o'clock. It's quick, and there's free latkes, and it's a really worthwhile thing to do. The last thing is our next meeting is January 7th. At 6 p.m. and it's virtual because it's winter, so please let folks know and you're welcome to join. And everything I just talked about is all on our website. Thank you. And if there are any questions.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Sarah?
Thank you, Mark. A few quick updates. So first of all, Eve already mentioned in relation to the CPC that there's discussions ongoing between the select board and actually the NRC haven't been involved yet around one of the applications to CPC. This means that there may be a possibility that NRC will bring forward a conservation land fund bylaw article to town meeting. That's definitely not certain, but just want to put that on the radar. Otherwise, there's no other articles being brought forward by NRC. And then an update on our membership. We actually put forward recommendations for 4 new members, two of whom will be associate members. We haven't had associate members for a while. They were to be reviewed and hopefully approved at the select board meeting in November, or maybe it was early December, but it was taken off the agenda at the last minute due to some public letters. I'm hoping and expecting this to be back on the select board agenda on the 22nd of December. And then we'll have a full complement at last for the NRC. Also, we're progressing well. We're nearly halfway through and we'll complete this week the interviews for the Warners Pond Management Committee subcommittee, NRC subcommittee that we're putting together. And finally, those of you who have been following the stockpiling at 1175 Elm Street that's been written up in the Bridge a few times, we will be discussing that violation at our NRC meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Lynn, do you have an update?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Lynn Salinger here, co-chair of the Tax Relief Evaluation Task Force. The quick update is that our town-wide anonymous survey on housing cost burdens across the town is about to draw to a close. The official close date is this Friday, though we might allow a few stragglers if people are eager still to fill the survey out over the weekend. To date, we've had about 880 respondents, which is great. Unfortunately, that by and large represents residential homeowners and not renters. We learned during the course of our work that 26% of housing units in town are rental units, which came as a surprise to most of us on our committee. And yet only 5% of the survey respondents are renters, despite some targeted outreach to apartment complexes in town. So we're eager to begin our next phase of work, which involves, of course, analyzing survey results, distilling findings from those results, from the secondary data that we've collected, and preparing our report. I will also note that two of us had a very productive meeting with the assessor in Harwich out on the Cape. To our knowledge, they are the only community in the Commonwealth that to date has adopted Section 5, capital O, tax exemptions for affordable housing, having to do with property owners renting full-time to eligible renters in their community. They're using adoption of that program as a means of encouraging year-round rentals, particularly for public employees of the town to be able to find housing in their community. Anyway, it was a very interesting conversation. That's about it. If you haven't filled out our survey yet, the link to it can be found on the TRETF website via the town. Thanks.
Lynn, can I ask one question?
Please.
Can you just say again that statistic about 26% of rentals? What?
26% of housing units.
Of housing units.
This is from the Housing Production Plan, the most recent one, are rentals.
So is it safe to say that 26% of the?
I'll ask her that.
Yeah, how? Because I know people might want to repeat that. I think that's very interesting. I want to be accurate. What's an accurate way if you like meet someone in the supermarket? 26% of the people in Concord are renters. Is that an accurate statement?
26% of our stock, housing
Of
stock.
our housing stock. Okay, got it. Thank you so
Lynn,
much.
And Lynn, we had a freeze in the Zoom meeting, so can you just repeat the name of the program that Harwich is?
Harwich is the one community in the Commonwealth, not via home rule petition, that has adopted Section 5, capital O, of the Mass General Laws, providing property tax exemptions for affordable rental units in town. And we'll have more to talk about that in our upcoming meeting tomorrow morning, and of course, will be in our report.
Thank you. Carlin, did you have anything?
No, I did not. I'm just taking notes for.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. We really appreciate it.